Mercury, fresh from the retrograde, oversees the new moon in Virgo on Monday, September 2nd, reminding us of the importance of being organized, attending to details, and making a plan. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you enjoy my work, please take a few seconds of your time to show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, and pressing the notification bell. Watch another one of my videos or say thank you by buying me a coffee, a tea, a croissant. I really appreciate that, and YouTube algorithm becomes friendlier if you do those things. So thank you for taking a couple of minutes of your time to help out. Thank you for being a friend and not a foe. Before we dive in, a couple of announcements. If you're looking for a personal consultation, you have questions about the upcoming eclipse season, you want to know how the transits will affect you, how your year to come will look like, you have questions about your compatibility, natal chart, and more, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. My readings are live, they are recorded for your reference later, and the predictive ones also include a PDF file with the dates, important dates for you. Additionally, on my website you can find a variety of candles and oils I create. Astrology is fascinating, right? And just like the good harvest, you can harvest the positive transits, and so I work with the good transits in a proactive way by capturing them and encapsulating them in the shape of candles and oils. I'd like to highlight my Mercury Kazemi candle. This one was created in June, and it captures Mercury in the sign of rulership Gemini conjunct the Sun. This is the empowered Mercury, very clever, very fast, lightning speed intellect, very curious, adaptable, sociable, friendly, knows a little bit about everything. This can help you find clarity, improve your speech, improve your memory, and just general sort of communication benefits it carries. It is decorated with emerald chips, and it is brown color, light brown. It smells like coffee, which is the scent of Mercury, and can be especially powerful for people born with their Mercury retrograde. If your Mercury is in the sign of detriment, Sagittarius and Pisces. If your Mercury is in the dark house, 6th, 8th, or 12th. And if it's aspected by Saturn, like if it's opposite Saturn or square Saturn, because then you might be someone who thinks very deeply about things, but sometimes like struggles expressing it, doubts himself or herself. So definitely pick up a Mercury candle. I also have Mercury in Gemini, and I'm about to create more Mercury in Virgo candles now that we are out of the retrograde. So let's talk about this new moon. It happens on Monday, September 2nd at 9:55 p.m. Eastern in 11:03 Virgo. And so the fact that it's happening at 11:03 Virgo suggests that it will be the most important for people with planets between 8 and 14 degrees mutable signs. And those are Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. You may feel it stronger. You may also feel it more strongly if you are in a moon-ruled year. And for that, you know, if we do a predictive reading, I usually break down your annual perfection. We talk about your Time Lord, as well as if you are a Cancer rising, right? Cancer is ruled by the moon, so by definition, new moon and full moons might affect you more. So this is a new moon in Virgo, right? New moon is the sun conjoining the moon. The sun blocks the moon out. You can't see it, and archetypally, new moon is the time of germination. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the time when the seed germinates underground. I hope I'm saying it right, but it's basically like you're planting the seed in the darkness of the new moon, in the darkness of the soil and the darkness of the night, and then it grows, strengthens, and blooms at the time of the full moon. That's why we often talk about new beginnings on the new moons and the cycle completing on the full moon 6 months later, approximately. So what's interesting is next year we're going to start to have eclipses in Virgo. So this new moon is potent, and it's gonna be, you know, we will continue looking at Virgo properties and qualities even more so next year. And of course at every new moon, but the next couple of years will be especially significant because of the eclipses. So the new beginnings in the sign of Virgo. Virgo is the sign of realism. It's earthy sign, it's grounded sign. It is the sign of health, routines, organization, cleanliness. It's the sign that enjoys making the plan. So with the new moon in Virgo, you're maybe setting intentions involving your well-being. It's a really good time to think about which routines, which practices you need to have in your life in order to be a better version of yourself. The ruler is Mercury in Leo. Mercury in Leo wants to shine. It wants to speak about oneself. So like, it wants to be the best, right? So what do you need to do to be the best? The youest you. I feel like I'm quoting Dr. Seuss. But yeah, like what kind of health protocols do you miss in life? Maybe you need to go to bed a little bit earlier. Maybe you need to exercise. Maybe you need to do yoga. Maybe you need to meditate. What kind of healthy practices are missing? Virgo deals with tangible sort of grounded things as well besides your body, right? But it can also deal with your relationship with food. It can deal with your home, your work situation, and Virgo likes to improve things. So the bigger question besides the health routines also comes from the perspective of like, what needs to be improved in your life? And I'm gonna write it down because sometimes as I film this, I come up with titles for them. What needs to be improved? But like, you know, and a lot will depend on which house this new moon occurs in your chart. You will see exactly what needs to be more organized, what needs to be streamlined, what needs to be improved, because just by looking at Virgo, it will mostly tend to attend to your health, maybe your like relationship with nature, your creative energy as well, because the new moon by default has a very creative energy. So the new moon encourages you to come up with a plan. Virgo likes sort of a very detailed to-do list. So you may look for opportunities to come up with a strategy, to figure things out. It is opposing Saturn in 16 degrees Pisces. So I think there is also an invitation to not be too nitpicky and too perfectionist. And I think once again with the upcoming eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, we will get to examine the shadow side of Virgo perfectionist, of Virgo criticism and like lack of satisfaction, because a lot of times it drains your energy force. And as someone with 3 planets in Virgo, I can speak at length on that sort of sense for perfection, that need to always be productive. So on some level, this new moon might also, besides improving your life, it might invite you to think of where do you need to not improve? Where do you need to accept things and love yourself for what you are? Because we are works in progress, right? But we're also perfect in every single given moment, unless you kill puppies. If you do, please stop watching and unsubscribe. But you know what I mean, like, don't be, you know, if you are, most of us are just trying our best. We're working our best. We're trying really hard to be the best version of ourselves. And so sometimes Virgo can be too much. And so together with the energy of improvement, I think you're invited to ask yourself, where do you not need to improve? Where are you already, like, where do you need to accept yourself? This new moon occurs right around Mars squaring Neptune. Mars squares Neptune the next day on September 3rd. Actually, not even the next day, like mere 2 hours after the new moon, Mars squares Neptune. And so Mars square Neptune can also have a sense of, you know, Mars is also ruled by Mercury at this point, and it squares Neptune, and you feel low, you feel tired, you feel disillusioned, frustrated, uncertain, like you want to pursue things but you don't know how, you want to stand up for things, you don't know how, you don't have energy, you're like maybe just feeling drained. We just wrapped up the eclipse, we didn't wrap up the eclipse season, we wrapped up Mercury retrograde, and August had a lot of tense aspects, and so maybe there's just a sense of like meh. And so once again, the new moon in Virgo will ask you, what can you do to make things better? What do you need to tend to? Do you need to tend to your body? Do you need to tend to your mind? Do you need to be in the moment? Do you need to go into nature, right? Like lean into the medicine of Mother Earth. Like that's what earth signs are all about. Like they know the weight and the importance of working hard, but they also know how beautiful the world around us is. So if you're feeling frustrated, uncertain, take out a piece of pen and paper, journal, go in the nature, look at birds, appreciate things, bake, start a garden in your backyard, help community, do something that is both like, once again, improvement oriented, but also earthy. And be careful of getting too stuck in the details, being too perfectionist, because that may contribute to your frustration. If you're like seeing the imperfections over opportunities, that might feel really restrictive. If you're looking for personal reading, you have questions, only a one-on-one consultation with me might answer. Book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. And let's talk about the rising sign horoscopes to see what this might be bringing up for you. If you are an Aries rising, the new moon occurs in your 6th house. And the new moon in the 6th house is very much about your health. We also have Mars in your 3rd squaring Neptune in the 12th. And so Mars in the 3rd, Neptune in the 12th, you're maybe dealing with like a lack of energy, a frustration, a sense of maybe a lack of movement, a lack of forward momentum, confusion, lethargy, tiredness, lowered immune defenses. And so the new moon invites you to very much examine, where do you need to make things better? Where do you need to eat better? Maybe you need to exercise more. Maybe you need to balance your sleep. Maybe you need to let go of some responsibilities on your schedule and slow down on some level. And I think, together with the where do you need to do things, it can also be about where do you need to not do things, because the new moon opposes Saturn in the 12th, and it's like, yes, sometimes you have to do things and make improvements, but other times maybe you just need to take a nap. Maybe you need to let yourself to like listen to your body, allow yourself to relax, and don't push too hard. Don't expect too much of yourself when you're tired, right? But likely it's about having a better balance between the two. It's about creating a sense of like, I will rest when I need to, but I will also take tangible steps to make my life better. And sometimes you feel better mentally when you tend to your physical health. Have a good new moon if you are an Aries rising, and if you're looking for personal consultation, you're curious to know what the eclipse season has in store for you, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are the beautiful Taurus rising, the new moon is happening in your 5th house, and you're asking yourself, how can you be more productive on some level? How can you improve your creative flow? How can you improve your relationship with your children, right? Like the new moon in the 5th might be, my child needs me, but I work really hard. How can I spend more time with them? How can I be a bit more focused on their needs potentially? So like new beginnings in the life of the child might be represented by this new moon, a new creative project, a new passion project. We also have Mars in the 2nd squaring Neptune in your 11th house right now. And so you're maybe, with Mars in the 2nd, you're maybe trying to take some kind of action, find a new stream of income, and maybe dealing with some kind of frustration, stagnation, restriction, things that like other people being confusing or progress being slow. And so the new moon in the 5th is asking you, I think it's asking you to find things that are joyful, to find things that are pleasant, and they could be playing in the dirt, they could be hugging a tree, they could be spending time with your child, they could be hanging out with your loved ones. And so, you know, I keep thinking about this new moon through the lens of like what needs to be improved and what needs to be accepted. And so with the improvement in the 5th house, it's like improving your creative flow instead of just going with the flow, having like an actual strategy, or improving your relationship with your child, or improving your approach to dating, right? But there could also be an opportunity to like maybe let go of rigidity on some level, because like Virgo has that perfectionist attitude where like if it's not perfect, why bother? And so part of the energy of this new moon in my mind is also like, where are you being too rigid? Where are you being too critical and too perfectionist? And where is that tendency actually frustrating your growth and progress and joy? So improve what needs to be improved, but also release your tight grip. Please share how this resonates. And if you're looking for more, you're curious to know more about the eclipse season and its effects on you, you want to know about your relationship, your year coming up, book a consultation with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the beautiful Gemini rising, there's a new moon in the 4th house. So this is all about new beginnings at home, new beginnings in your family, new dynamics with the family, new relationships, better boundaries, maybe opportunities to improve your home, right? Maybe you are painting walls, or you are building an office space, you're doing things to sort of have a better, like more practical use of space, right? You're looking at your apartment and you're thinking like, okay, we have 2 people working from home right now, how can we be more streamlined? It's also the place of comfort and security. So you might be wondering what makes you more comfortable, what makes you more secure. And once again, maybe finding a way to bring that into your home, like getting more plants and creating sort of a Zen space by the window, right? I have a plant here, my aloe that started small and it's growing. I'll show it to you one day. I just feel like right now it's a bit of a clunky, it's heavy. So yeah, like maybe bringing, redesigning, redecorating, creating more comfort. There's an opposition to Saturn in the 10th, so work might be heavy. So the new moon in the 4th is very much like, okay, if work is hard and things are difficult, but like, what do you have control over? You have control over what you can do in your space. You have control over your reactions. And so the new moon in Virgo might be an opportunity to like make some changes, make some positive changes to both your immediate environment, your familial dynamics, but also your thoughts. And I keep talking about this need to maybe examine where you're being too like rigid and perfectionist, and where perhaps the invitation is to accept things as they are. So what needs to be accepted? Where do you need to just sort of like hug yourself and love yourself and not be hard on yourself? And then what can be improved? What kind of practical steps you can take to make your life better? Please share how this resonates. And if you're looking for a personal consultation, book a reading with me at Anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about the upcoming eclipse season, your personal year coming up, your relationship, and more. For the lovely Cancer rising, there's a new moon in the 3rd house, which suggests that you are going through some kind of mindset shift. New moon in the 3rd could be very small, right? It could be you updating the technology in your home, getting a new phone, something that can make, like, Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign. So something that lets you have a better flow through your everyday life, just like a piece of tech that makes things fun, but also streamlines things. Like you buy a new juicer or something. But it can also be much bigger, because third house is also your everyday life, your community, your neighborhood. So for some of you, it might be the beginning of like a major change, because maybe you're moving. You might be starting a new course of study. Third house has to deal with communication, your skills, your hobbies, your interests. So diving into a new subject, starting a podcast, starting a blog, starting to learn a foreign language. There's a lot of opportunities here. The new moon does oppose Saturn in the 9th. So you're maybe on your path towards these new beginnings. You're maybe having to deal with some like inner rigidity or logistical matters, legal delays, publishers, teachers, educators, people in power somehow frustrating your progress. We also have Mars in your 12th house squaring Neptune in the 9th. So, things might feel a little bit frustrating and unclear around the time of this new moon. You might also feel low on energy. And so Virgo will ask you what kind of practical changes you need to make. What do you need to improve, and where do you need to accept things? Like, what needs to be accepted? Where are you making things worse for yourself by thinking negative thoughts and being hard on yourself and being extra critical, right? Like, if you are guilty of that, perhaps it's time to rethink those things. Like, where are you being controlling? Where are you trying to like manipulate the outcome of the situation, right? And maybe you don't need to be as controlling. Maybe life will be easier if you work on trusting and work on some kind of like spiritual practices, or go in the yard, like touch the ground, hug a tree. And like, where can you actually take the steps to plan things out, to create a step-by-step routine for yourself, make some kind of, if things are confusing, take a piece of paper, take out a pen and break it all down, write a list for yourself. That can help bring some clarity at the time of the new moon. Share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the lovely Leo rising, there's a new moon in your 2nd house in opposition to Saturn in the 8th. So you're looking at new beginnings in your finances and values. And the opposition to Saturn suggests that you're maybe dealing with some sort of heaviness around debts, around dependencies you have on other people, around sort of negative spending habits, or just some kind of relationship or agreements in your life that are controlling, restrictive, and like tightening. They don't let you breathe fully. There might also be some expectations your partner has on you, and maybe like, even like duties you have to other people, like you're taking care of children and family members or whatever it might be. And the new moon in the 2nd house is calling you to balance your checkbook, so to speak, to consult a financial advisor, to start a savings account, a pension account, and maybe figure out a better way to deal with spending and money. Maybe ask for more. New moon in Virgo could be the time when you're like, write it down, have a strategy of like, here's who I am, here's what I do, my duties have increased, I spend this much time doing it, I'm more productive, give me a raise, right? So being very like strategic. Investing into health, spending money on something that is maybe important for your business or your well-being or your future is also a possibility here. And part of another thing I'm thinking with this new moon is acceptance of where you at. Trying to be more friendly, avoiding being too critical of yourself, because you might spend a lot of time worrying about your finances or things not being perfect. And so with the upcoming shift of the nodes into Pisces and Virgo, we will have to deal with the shadow side of it. Like, it's okay to strive for better things, but it's not okay when it becomes destructive, when you feel like you're never satisfied and your finances will never be better and you're just constantly worrying about money, right? So like, improve what you can, accept what you cannot, and remember to value yourself. Share how this resonates, and if you're looking for a personal consultation, you can find me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I I do a variety of readings, predictive. We can talk about the eclipse. We can talk about your relationship, your natal chart, and more. If you are the lovely Virgo rising, there's a new moon in your first house calling you to tend to yourself, to focus on yourself and reinvent yourself. New moons in the first house are like personal personal birthday, right? It's the sun and the moon coming together to first create a vision of you, of the new you. You may enjoy taking a list, writing things down, step by step sort of exercise routine. Let's say you're working on shaping your body, or you're thinking of studying, or you're learning a foreign language, or you're relocating. The possibilities are endless as long as it's something that excites you. There is an opposition, sort of a wider orb opposition to Saturn in the 7th house. There's also Mars in your 10th squaring Neptune in the 7th, and maybe there is a sense of work feeling a little bit uncertain, and relationship, and you have like a lot of duties to other people, and so you don't feel as free, I think, to pursue the things that you're trying to pursue. And so the opportunity here might be what I've been saying for a while, is like, try to control the things you can and try to accept the things that you cannot. And when you do, you are likely to find a better balance, because the new moon in Virgo is very much a great time to improve your body, improve your work life, improve yourself, right? Like, you're very much thinking of like, how can I be the better version of myself? But it's also a beautiful time to accept that you're already perfect, that you're already hardworking, and even without you being hardworking, you're already perfect. You're here, you're worthy of love and success and everything. So accepting and improving, and not going too hard into one or the other, because you might like sort of, you know, chop away at a statue that is beautiful until you've got nothing left. So stay mindful, stay demure. If you're looking for a personal consultation, you can book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about your year to come, your natal chart, your relationship, and more. If you are the lovely Libra rising, there's a new moon in your 12th house in opposition to Saturn in the 6th, as Mars in the 9th squares Neptune in the 6th. And so the new moon in the 12th is an interesting time, right? Looking at all the transits around this new moon, Saturn and Neptune are in your 6th, Mars is in the 9th, and there is that urge to grow. There is a desire to grow. There's maybe new projects you're pursuing. There's also a lot of work, and maybe things feeling uncertain, unclear, some challenges involving logistical issues, problems you're facing, sort of like maintenance of things is weighing down on you. And you get this new moon in the 12th house, which reminds you to go within, which reminds you to balance the stress of everything with mental health practices, but first thing you do here also is like, you're examining how you are dealing with stress, how you're dealing with like difficult situations. Is your tendency to hold on to things and try to control them, or get really frustrated and anxious if they don't go your way? And if that is the case, because, you know, 12th house is your place of self-undoing, so for most Libras, Virgo energy will be strong in that regard, right? Like, so two opportunities here, right? First of all, examine what steps you can take to deal with things outside of your control. And in the 12th house, it's going to be spiritual things, but also Virgo things, nature walks, yoga, meditation, journaling, breathing, being present, being in the moment, being grounded in your body. It's a very funny thing for Libra risings, right? Because in modern astrology, like, they flip it and they say like 6th house is connected to Virgo, but as Libra rising, your 12th house is Virgo. So your spirituality is very practical and grounded, and like it's a combination of like spirituality, but also Virgo tending to the body and being like a little bit perfectionist on it. And so speaking of perfectionism, that's like the second option that is visible to me here too, and that is where are you being too rigid? Where are you being too sort of like, where are you literally tightening your body when things are stressful, and how you can release it, how you can accept things, how you can work on not sort of diving into the negative self-talk. Like, what can you accept and what can you improve are the biggest questions here. And do not hesitate to take it easy around the time of this new moon. Tend to your body, spend time in nature, retreat. If you don't feel like interacting with people, don't force yourself. It could be a great time to like take a step back, tend to yourself. The work will be there. The opportunities for growth will be there, but the new moon is about you and your mental health. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for personal guidance, you have questions about the eclipse season coming up, your year to come, your relationship, and more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the lovely Scorpio risings, there's a new moon in the 11th house, and it opposes Saturn on the day Mars in your 8th squares Neptune in the 5th. So there's a lot going on. The ruler is also Mercury in the 10th. And so how can we forget about Mercury? So the new moon in the 11th brings in new beginnings in your social networks. It's new beginnings that involve new friendships, new hopes, new dreams, new plans for yourself, right? Mercury being in the 10th ties it all up to your career. So your career, but also your public status, right? What you're known in the world. And so you have these high aspirations, and the new moon encourages you to come up with a plan. It encourages you to figure out what steps do you need to take to start that project, to get that deal, to start that partnership, whatever it might be, or reach that dream that you have, right? So the new moon in Virgo will say like, okay, how can you be practical about this? What kind of steps do you need to take? With the opposition to Saturn and Mars in the 8th also squaring Neptune in the 5th house, you're likely to deal with some type of like uncertainty, confusion involving parenthood, involving love, involving your creative child potentially, and maybe feel a little bit uncertain, right? And a little bit like lack clarity, or feel like you don't quite know how to unite everything that's going on in your life and all of the relationship matters and personal life matters with your dreams. And so there are two main ways and two sort of main energies that are represented with this new moon. First one is like, what can you improve? Where do you need to be more practical? In the 11th house, it might be about contacting people in your network. It might be about getting organized. It might be about looking for social engagements. Let's say with the new moon in the 11th, you're a social media creator, you're trying to get a partnership with a big company, but you don't know how to get there, right? So be Virgo about it. Do research. Figure out how you can contact someone who knows someone who knows someone, right? Or how you can go to a networking event that can put you in touch with the person that you're looking for. So what practical steps do you need to take versus where do you need to be a little bit more flexible, right? And watch out for sort of negative self-talk, criticism, perfectionism. Maybe things don't need to be perfect. Maybe it's okay if your creative baby is half-baked when you present it to your potential partner, right? Like it's okay also to like be a little bit more flexible here. And I think that opposition to Saturn in the 5th says that like sometimes things will not be perfect, and that is okay, because nobody is. I know it's shocking because clearly I am. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. But it's true, you know, you are not perfect, I'm not perfect, nobody really is perfect, and it's okay to accept the imperfection of the world and yourself. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about your chart, your year coming up, the eclipse season, and whatever else you're curious to know about. If you are the lovely Sagittarius rising, the new moon in the 10th house brings attention to your career and encourages new beginnings here. The ruler is Mercury in the 9th, and new beginnings might involve publishing, they might involve writing, they might involve teaching, studying, growing somehow, right? maybe you are taking on new projects with Virgo. It might be somehow connected to like diet, exercise, health, nutrition. So you're exploring new possibilities. You may be asking for a raise, but you're very, very professionally minded at this time. However, the new moon opposes Saturn in the 4th. We also have Mars in your 7th house of relationships squaring Neptune in the 4th. And there might be in the force be with you. And there might be some tensions around like your living situation, what's happening with your child or your partner. A lot of sort of important topics that are distracting you or like affecting your professional progress. And so with the new moon in Virgo, there is a chance to make some improvements and to maybe sit down and get organized and create a to-do list and write all of the matters involving your relationship and your family and your career and try to like, you know, color code it and move little pieces. Maybe those are post-it notes and you're sort of adjusting them. And I also see this as an opportunity to accept things as they are, to see where you're being too rigid, where you're being too perfectionist, and where are you maybe sabotaging yourself or being too critical of yourself, and look for ways to release that and to kind of practice more patience, more self-acceptance. And even, you know, like if things get you down and things don't feel like, if everything feels stressful and things don't go your way, like sometimes being flexible is important, but if you balance it together with like health protocols and routines and meditation and sort of healthy things that Virgo really likes, you will find sort of perfect balance and unity, I think. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are a Capricorn rising, there's a new moon in your 9th house, inviting you to grow. New moon in the 9th wants to learn new things. It wants to maybe, you know, study health or healing and take on some kind of new exciting class. There may be opportunities to teach. Maybe you're transitioning from a student into a teacher, or to travel, to move, to write, to publish your work, to present your work in some kind of like new shape, and through a new medium potentially. So as you are experiencing this desire to grow, the new moon invites you to have a plan, right? Because there is an opposition to Saturn in the 3rd. We also have Mars squaring Neptune on the same day, and there might be a sense of like things are a little bit overwhelming, confusing. You don't know where to find time. You don't know where to find resources. There's a lot that's already going on. So the opportunity might be to like figure out ways to organize your schedule, to reach out to people you need to reach out, to take practical steps. You may also, with this new moon, you may also get a chance to examine your thoughts and examine how you handle things, because, you know, the strong Virgo energy might suggest that you're like very focused and very perfectionist and very like, you got like a critical eye, which could be good, but it could be like destructive if you're being too critical or too stubborn or too rigid in your vision of reality. So I think it's exciting because there are definitely new beginnings involving all of those things, like writing, publishing, travel. But you will need to be more flexible. You will need to compromise. The opposition to Saturn in the 3rd suggests that you can't have every single thing, or not right now. And so with the new moon, there's also going to be this opportunity to like figure out how to rebalance things and figure out how to compromise, what to accept, what to improve. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. For the beautiful Aquarius risings, there's a new moon in your 8th house. And the new moon in the 8th is all about sharing. It's all about working with other people. It's all about debts, loans, and taxes. Inheritance as well, or some kind of important payouts. So And the new moon also opposes Saturn in the second, and Mars on the same day basically squares Neptune in your second from the 5th into the second. And so you're maybe dealing with some type of frustrations involving your personal resources, right? This opposition to Saturn, Mars squaring Neptune in the second, like something about your money, about your values, your agreements with others feels up in the air. It doesn't feel as solid. And so the new moon in the 8th might invite you to welcome an element of vulnerability, to maybe trust other people to carry you, to ask for help. You may find yourself in a position that you might not be comfortable in, where like you are expressing your financial concerns to someone. There might also be opportunities to start a different sort of agreement with someone professionally, or a different agreement with your significant other, like maybe starting a joint bank account, which is a sort of agreement, right? You're maybe focusing on paying off a debt. You're maybe dealing with some kind of financial matter that maybe is a little bit frustrating, right? Because of all of the second house activations around the same time. And so the new moon in the 8th is one, asking you, what do you need to accept? Where do you need to be willing to compromise? Like, you know, what is a given? What are you fighting against that maybe is creating more stress? So on one hand, you're learning to like accept things and to be gentle and kind with yourself. And then on the other hand, you're asking, what can you improve? So with the new moon in the 8th, maybe, and if you're frustrated with your financial situation, or, you know, some kind of agreement, dependency, involvement with other people, like maybe you need to start setting money aside, or you need to have an honest conversation. So what can be improved in terms of agreements, finances, dependencies, and involvements with other people, and what needs to be accepted? The new moon in the 8th might also offer a chance to heal. And that's where that vulnerability comes in, I think. Like where, what fears do you have involving money? What fears do you have around depending on somebody else, and how can you work through them? Please share how this resonates if you're looking for more. As always, book a reading on my website. I am happy to talk about your year coming up, your relationship, the eclipse season, your natal chart, and so much more. If you are the beautiful Pisces rising, there's a new moon in your 7th house, new beginnings in your relationship sector. It, however, opposes Saturn in the 1st on the same day as Mars in your 4th house, squares Neptune in the 1st. So on the outside, the goal of this new moon is to start a new relationship, or to move a relationship to a new sort of level, right? You're very relationship oriented. It could be romantic, right? You're maybe putting yourself out there, starting to date, or it could be professional or even familial, where you are, maybe you're starting to take care of your parent, or they're moving in with you, or something is transforming around how you relate with them. Maybe you're signing a new contract. So there's a lot of energy focused on relationships, but there's also a need to tend to yourself and to ask yourself, what is realistic, what is practical, what do you have time and energy for before you make some kind of important moves. And I think that's what that like Mars square Neptune and the new moon opposite Saturn in the 1st house says, because it reminds you that you only have this much time, you only have this much energy, and so you very much will have to balance what you're seeing and craving and dreaming about in relationships and what is the reality. And let's say you're single with the new moon in the 7th, you might be like really focused on starting to date, but then Saturn in the 1st reminds you that you have like, I don't know, 5 doctor's appointments coming up, and so that might affect your dating abilities or something. So it's like needing to balance things, and also being practical about things, working on maybe improving a relationship, and like being honest. Like if you feel like you or your partner are being too critical in a relationship, also I think like talking honestly about things, working on accepting each other, working on your tendency to be critical of them or critical of yourself. Like those are some of the very Virgo themes that I think coming up with this new moon. Please share how this resonates. As always, if you're curious to know more, you have questions you want to ask me, you can find me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I offer a variety of readings, a couple of durations, so check out my website for that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, press that button, say hi. I hope September is going to feel much better than August. I know August has been a bit rough for many of us, so let's see what September brings, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.